everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am sharing with you my diary entry for the week of August 7th through 13th. Today is August 13th, and this is my reading, crafting, and TV/movie watching vlogs. So I basically catch you up on what I've been doing during the week. So as far as reading goes, I normally start these vlogs off with what I've read, but I don't have a wrap-up for you this week because I have not finished a book. So I am currently reading Kushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. This is the first book in the Phaedra trilogy, I believe. Phaedra is the main character in this trilogy. I am 589 pages in, so I am on chapter 61. This book is 912 pages. I am reading this for my first TBR, Rotating Decks TBR prompt for the month of August. And I'm actually enjoying this book a lot more than I thought I was going to. So I am combination reading this book. I am reading some, and then I'm also listening to some from the audiobook that I borrowed from Hoopla. Now, that has been a little bit of a faff because Hoopla doesn't give chapter markers. I have been having to calculate the percentage of the book and then figuring that out with the length of the audiobook and then, doing some math to figure out where I should be. It's a little bit difficult to move the little time marker on the audiobook, but it hasn't been that bad. So, yeah, I've been enjoying this a lot more than I thought I was going to. So, this book basically follows our main character, Phaedra, from when she is very young and into her, teen years now. She gets sold to I don't even know how to call them, but it's one of the houses of the night court. Her mother used to be a member, and things happened, and anyway, Phaedra gets placed with them. And so we follow her from basically that time until when she is purchased by her owner, and she gets purchased around the age of 7. But with how they train the children in these houses, they usually get trained up until the age of 10. So he has purchased her. They call it purchasing her mark. But she will stay in the house until she's 10. And then she goes to live with him when she's 10. And from 10 to the age of 16, she does a lot of more learning. So there's a lot of things that goes into it, and basically what these houses do and what Phaedra becomes is a courtesan. So I know that when I talked to you about this book last week, I'd mentioned that I was a little concerned about her age and things like that. In this book, they come to age at age 16. That's when they start their profession, and that's when they're presented to society, I guess. So I was a little concerned with her teaching and all of that stuff, because by today's standards, it's still pretty young to be doing work like that. But this does feel like a little historical, especially with all of the mythology that is around why Phaedra kind of is recognized the way she is, because she does have this scarlet mote in her eye, and that's supposed to be a prick from Kushiel's dart. Kushiel is a mythological god in this world, along with Nama and Elua, I think, are the ones that get mentioned. And having this mote in her eye basically signifies that she is going to be one that enjoys pain with her pleasure. And so I was a little concerned with, all the teaching and the learning that she would need to do before going into her profession, as well as how young she would start her profession. And while I didn't enjoy all of that part, once she got to her owner's house, all of the learning was book learning, or she's doing different types of aerobics to limber her body, and they learn different languages. So there's a lot of normal learning. And then once they get older, because there is another boy that lives in her owner's house, so they kind of go through this training together, and not sexually together, but they do their studies together. So they read things, they're doing their gymnastics type thing, aerobics together. They learn languages together. And so he's kind of like her brother. Up through all of that, it was okay for me. You start to understand what her owner is kind of training them for. So they are going to go into their profession of being courtesans. But behind that, he's also training them to be spies. He's got something up his sleeve, and he's using these two children to try to get information. And I thought that was a pretty fascinating concept, because you have to be pretty patient. I mean, he waited until Phaedra was 10 to start training her himself in languages, and to listen, and just little things that will make her a better spy. But she doesn't really know that's what is happening until she starts working. And so, this whole thing that he's been training them has been 6 years, plus however long before he had the other companion that Phaedra was with. So this is a long, patient thing that he's been waiting to happen. And then once both of them become of age, because their birthdays are pretty close, that's when everything starts rolling. So while I was still a little uncomfortable with the age that they had started their profession, with the way that it is set up in this book, I was okay with it. I didn't like Phaedra for a while in this book. She, as far as when she's growing up and she's a kid and she's just learning stuff, it's okay. But once they start getting to the point where they're closer to coming out into society and accepting patrons, she starts getting really, really haughty. She becomes full of herself. And I did not like that. I mean, a lot of it is in her head. She never voices it aloud, but we see that in her head. We hear it in her head. And she was always comparing herself to her companion, her brother. I'm going to call him her brother because there's no real other way for me to say it. They live in the same house. They eat together. They sleep in the same house. They do studies together. He is, for all intents and purposes, a brother-like figure. They have conversations together and things like that. They're training for basically the same thing. So I'm going to refer to him as her brother from now on. But anyway, he comes of age before her, and his entrance into society is something that is so huge. It's an event that a lot of people will remember because of how it all went down. that she is just irritated to no end because she wants to be out there, and why does he get to do this, and that type of inner monologue. I just wanted to kick her butt. And even when she gets presented to society, she's always like, well, I did this better. It's like, what? I do not like characters like that. She is always saying that, well, he may have done it this way, but I did it this way, and therefore I did it better. Or like, you know, they have this like tattoo. You can kind of see it on the back here. This is their mark. So when it says an owner purchases their mark, they're basically purchasing the person, and then as the people get patrons to gift them funds towards their mark, they get to fill in this tattoo. So once the tattoo is done, they are done with their debt to their owner. And so there's this thing about competing with her brother on this whole mark business, and I didn't like that. But as the story gets further and further, there are things that happen that she just kind of no longer is thinking about herself in that way. And her like thoughts and her like demeanor kind of changes, and it's understandable why, because of what happens. And I'm much like her better now. So yeah, she was a bit insufferable for maybe 40% of this book. I'm not quite sure when that event happens that kind of changes things for her. But yeah, I am enjoying this a lot. That whole spy thing is into motion in a big way at this point where I am, and things are clicking into place, and there's just a lot of politics going on, and so it's really interesting. That being said, our character is a courtesan, right? So sex is part of her job. She's constantly thinking about it, and I don't need to hear about it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there is mention of when she has patrons in this book. The scenes are not like graphic. I would say if you compare those scenes with the scenes of her getting beaten, the scenes of her getting beaten are much more graphic. Those scenes go into great detail, and it's hard to read sometimes. Whereas the scenes where she's like servicing her patrons are much more generalities of what's going on. You don't get a play-by-play, if you know what I mean. And sometimes it's just like a phrase like, and then he took me to his bed, and then it skips over the whole thing. So I'm okay with that. I like that. But the scenes where she's getting beaten because she's into that, she enjoys getting beaten. It's part of what brings her, like, the pleasure part. I do not like that. Her very first patron, the patron that purchases her what they're calling a virgin price, like, she's not had any sexual experience before. Not any. Everything she knows up until this point has been from a book. And they did go to see, like, a show. So that they kind of had an idea of how it all works. But she's never done anything. She's only read about it. So her very first patron that purchases her virgin price beats her up bloody. And I'm thinking, that's just not right. Like, the beating was brutal. I mean, she was bleeding. And every time she gets beaten in here, there's a lot of talk of blood. And so all of that makes me uncomfortable. But in a book this size, there's so much more going on that I can literally just skim over those parts and look for the pieces of information that she's trying to obtain, because she is a spy. She's trained as a spy. She does the courtesan work, yes, but her main objective is collecting information. So it's bearable for me right now, but I did read through the part where she got beaten the first time, and it was bad. It was really bad. There is even, it's almost like religious, this whole thing with Kushiel and Nama and Elua, that there is a temple that she visits a couple times in this book, and she's even gone to the temple and gotten beaten, flogged, just recently where I am, and it was bad. It kind of gave me that feeling of a religious, where someone beats themselves. They're so religious that they beat themselves. I'm not really educated in all of that. I did see some of it in the Da Vinci Code. One of the characters in that movie does that to himself, but it's kind of almost that same thing where she feels like she needs to be beaten and nobody around her will do it. So she goes to the temple and people there do it for her. Yeah, very difficult again to watch, and I'm having a hard time understanding why, because that's not my thing. I don't understand that, and so yeah, to me it's just a brutal beating, and I'm not connecting with her needs for that, though on a surface level I kind of get that's what she needs. I still don't understand it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't care for all of that, but there's so much going on politically that is just so interesting. And so I am continuing with this. Obviously, I've gotten quite a bit read, which is great. But I am going to have to put this one down for a bit, because it is the weekend before the Monochrome Manga Club meeting, which means that I need to read the selections for the Monochrome Manga Club. So I will be doing that, and until I get those done this weekend, I will probably just be sticking to the audiobook for this, unless I am able to read a little bit more when I'm done in the evenings with the manga for the Monochrome Manga Club, because that is the priority this week, at least through Thursday, because the meeting is on Thursday, the 18th. So yeah, other than that, I have not done any knitting. We've just continued to play video games. I am having a little bit of pain in this finger right here, and pain in this finger here. So I'm kind of trying to take it easy as well. Yeah, even my day job, which is a lot of typing, I've had a little bit of pain in this pinky finger too. So these three fingers have been causing me a bit of an issue this week. So no knitting. I've been thinking about what I want to do as my vacation project, because I am going on vacation week after next. So yeah, I've been pondering on that, and that's pretty much what I've done as far as thinking. What do they call it? Dream crafting? Dream knitting. Just thinking. I haven't actually knitted anything again this week, but hopefully there'll be some knitting next week. Movie and TV watching. So we finished up The Lost Symbol. This is the complete series that was on Peacock, decided not to get a streaming service subscription, and I just purchased the discs because I think this is going to be one that we'll watch again and again. I really enjoyed this one. It is a bit different from the book from what I can remember, but I read the book a really long time ago. This does kind of make it sound like they're leaving it open to do Origin, which is the 5th book. I'm hoping that's what they'll do. But to tell you the truth, I can't even remember what happened in Origin. And apparently I didn't write a review for it either, so I have no idea what I thought. I think I enjoyed it, but I can't even tell you what it's about at this point. So I think I'm going to have to reread that one sometime. But I'm hoping that they'll do the TV show for that, because I do really enjoy these Robert Langdon stories. And so, yeah, we watched that. And then yesterday we finished up Tyler Henry, Life After Death, which is on Netflix. That was really interesting. I thought that was really interesting. I've been kind of watching his little snippets on YouTube, the Hollywood Medium stuff, as they come across on my feed. And it's really interesting. I do find his ability interesting, and I do believe in a lot of otherworldly type things. So yeah, I've had experiences in my life that kind of coincide with things that he talks about. So yeah, I did find that very interesting, especially because that series not only shows him going and doing readings for people, but there's also a family mystery he's trying to uncover, as well as, you know, the toll it takes on him physically. So I did really enjoy that. And then after that, we watched Men in Black and Men in Black 2. My daughter has never seen Men in Black, and so it was on Netflix, and so we decided to go ahead and watch it. And I think I've only watched it once or twice. In fact, I think we had gone to watch it at a drive-in when I was younger, when we still lived in Hawaii. And so, yeah, it was interesting. It was entertaining. And I think we're going to watch the 3rd one and then watch the international one sometime soon. But that's pretty much everything that we've done this week. So I've got one more week of work before I go on vacation, which is great. But that also means that this week is probably going to be rather busy. I think we're also having another change in business operations as far as technology goes, because they've been changing things to increase our security. And so I think one of those things are supposed to happen this week as well. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes smoothly, but things like that never goes smoothly. So yeah, I foresee a big busy week for me, plus the manga club meeting and going on vacation. Preparing everybody for me being out of the office is always something that takes up a lot of time, especially when I go on vacation for the length of time that I'm going on vacation this time around. So it's going to be a nice lengthy vacation of 2 weeks, which will be lovely. And so, yes, that's pretty much all I've got for this week. Let me know down in the comments below if you finished any books this week, or if you've DNF'd a book this week. I'd love to know that as well. Have you watched anything interesting? If nothing else, you would just like to let me know that you are here. If you could leave me a, I don't know, rose emoji for the rose that's at the top of her tattoo, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care. And smile always. Bye.